So looking at Denver, Colorado, and you're considering maybe a move here, which is super exciting, and I get it, I've done it myself. But I've seen people do the move here to Denver and make some mistakes right out of the gates that either lands them in buyer remorse, maybe regretting where they purchased as far as the neighborhood or the house, or the commute is just something they're not quite looking for. Fortunately, as a local residential realtor and after helping multiple families and individuals move here, I've created a process that I'm gonna lay out for you in this video that will hopefully give you the inside scoop on what I recommend and the process that I use to help active buyers move to Denver without making any regret. And right to that point, some of the things that I'm gonna break down in this video that I feel serious buyers really need to think about prior to purchasing in Denver are going to be things like how big is Denver, some of the landmarks you need to consider, the major roadways, what are the commutes looking like, pricing and realities of pricing in Colorado because it's not what it used to be, and then also lifestyle and some of the trade-offs that come with the various lifestyles. So if you're looking at making a move and you're into all those details that I just talked about, this video is definitely for you. And I'm gonna have some bonus goodies I'll throw in at the back of the video, so definitely stick around to the end because this will kind of help tie everything together for you. So to get it started, let's take a look at the map and the overview of Denver County by itself, which is very, very big. As you can see, it outlines right here in the middle of the map. It covers not only downtown Denver, but also a bunch of the different neighborhoods in and around the Eastern Corridor, all the way up around DIA, and it reaches all the way down into portions of Centennial, Englewood, and Littleton. Now, this whole area is enormous, and some of the major roadways you're definitely gonna wanna know are gonna be I-25, which runs through the entire center of downtown Denver, all the way to the northern end and the southern end. It takes you all the way to Wyoming and all the way down south to New Mexico. You also want to pay attention over here to the Eastern Corridor. This is going to be E470, which is a very long 50-mile course of roadway. It is a toll road, but it is super fast in comparison to I-25 during periods of high commute and traffic. The other major artery that you want to watch is going to be I-70, which is your east-west roadway that takes you from basically Kansas all the way up into the mountains, all the way out over to Utah. And this is the main route that people take when they're going skiing or up to the mountains in the summer. Now, knowing these roadways is very important. For example, taking a look at the map, we have no traffic right now. Now, if I plug it in and say we're gonna go from one end of I-25 to the other, this is currently during rush hour traffic. It's gonna take an hour and 4 minutes to take I-25. You can see all the backups that happen. This is a very heavily traffic congested roadway, and this is something you're gonna wanna consider if you're living either in downtown Denver here or any of the surrounding neighborhoods along the outskirts. Now, you can also take 470, as I mentioned. Now, this is a tollway, 50 miles all the way around, and it should be about $17 or $18 from the very northern end to the southern end, but it's only gonna take you 46 minutes to get literally from top to bottom and save you a whole bunch of time and aggravation because these traffic ways definitely back up, especially as we get further into rush hour. So now that you have some of the basic roadways understood, let's jump into one of the bigger questions I typically get, which is going to be the actual pricing of homes and the reality of what that actually gets you in Denver or around Denver. So at the time of shooting this video, the median price of an average single family home of 3 beds and 2 baths roughly in Denver, Colorado is hovering about $535,000 up to about $610,000 depending on where it's located. And a big caveat about that is the price point does fluctuate and change depending on where you are in the city. So jumping back to the map real quick, you can be sitting anywhere closer to downtown Denver, and that price point won't get you nearly as much as it will as you move further out. Once you get past some of the major roadways, so I-70 and then 470 out to the east, the dollar goes a lot farther because you are further away from some of the major attractions. There's also some other details that are very important to distinguish between urban and suburban, and I'll uncover some of those in the neighborhood review a little further in the video, so definitely stick around for that point. So to really just kind of ram home that point, it's going to be a tale of 2 different houses and 2 different house styles when you're looking at the average or the median price point in Denver. So anything that you're going to get closer to the Denver metro area, chances are is going to be a bit of an older home versus if you go out and towards the suburbs area, you're going to get roughly a newer home, probably with a larger lot, which is going to be a very different feel. So it's a tale of 2 different locations, which can really impact how your relocation plans are formed. Now, let's say that you're not interested so much in a single family home and you're more along the lines of a studio or a condo or a townhome, which is fine. Those price points are going to definitely be changing as well. So as of right now, the median home price for a condo in Denver is right about $349,000. Now compare that to a townhome, that's going to be sitting anywhere from about $410,000 all the way up to $570,000, depending on where it's located in Denver or in the surrounding suburbs. Now keep in mind when you're looking at these different locations, they are attached versus single family homes being detached. In Denver proper, some of those homes will not have HOAs, but townhomes and condos most certainly always have an HOA, which is an additional cost. So you want to put that into your relocation budget to figure out if what you're looking at is really worth the price compared to a single family home. Now, another thing to consider with your pricing and your relocation budget is going to be your taxes. And the taxes are going to be based on the purchase price of whatever property you're buying. So based on square footage, typically your taxes will go up or down based on volume. And I recently helped a family move here from New Jersey, and their property taxes on what was basically a modular home, they were paying around $21,000 a year on this tiny home on a tiny plot, which is, to me, is just bananas. You're not going to pay that necessarily here in Denver, Colorado. So most average taxes for, say, a 3,000 square foot home will run you on annual about $3,000 to maybe $4,500 or so. If you go higher in your square footage and you get a little bit larger, something in like the 5, 6, 7,000 square feet or so, your taxes are certainly going to go up, and I've seen those range anywhere from $10,000 to as high as $20,000, but those are a bit more of like the luxury style homes. So that may not apply to you, especially with the relocation, unless you're in that kind of pricing category. And the last consideration that I would really recommend reviewing before you start looking at neighborhoods and house size or property types is going to be your insurance, because the insurance here in Denver is certainly going to be different than wherever you happen to be coming from. For Colorado, we have a lot of problem with wind and hail. Snow is fine, rain is a little bit, but hail and wind are some of the biggest ones we have. Water damage, not so much. Mold, it's super rare. Termites really don't exist here. I'm sure they're here, but I've never encountered them since doing this work since 2013. So what you can expect for insurance on an average size home, let's go with the median house purchase again of about that $535,000, $550,000. Home insurance will cost you roughly around $3,500 or so, and depending on who you shop and go with, you might get some rates a little bit higher and a little bit lower. I've heard it as low as $2,500 and I've heard it as high as $5,500. It's really whatever is the best fit for you and the coverage you pick. What I highly recommend is talking to your insurance provider, because I'm not a professional in that regard, and see what your deductible is going to be for anything on wind, hail, or any kind of act of God damage, because it can really, really make a big impact on your annual premiums. An unfortunate hard and fast truth when you're purchasing a property here in Denver is you're honestly choosing between location, size, and price, and it's very rare to get all three of those at entry-level prices. The next section is going to be where we jump into compromise and lifestyle. Before we get to that next section though, real fast, if this is your first time here, my name is Bill Knapp. I'm a residential realtor, and I'm doing these videos as a way to connect with you on the other side to see maybe if I could help you when you're doing a relocation or looking to do a purchase or even a sell here within the Denver metro area. All my contact information is below. I'd love to see if we can set up a time to get on a call or maybe a Google Meet, something along those lines, and do a little bit of a strategy formation to see what might be a best fit for you. So just reach out to me at any point and we can get that part started. On to the next. Now, the next section, this is a big one, and this is where I see a lot of people unfortunately make mistakes, and this is in my process where I tend to spend most of my time when I'm helping people relocate here. And this is going to be your lifestyle, your wants and your needs with the lifestyle, and commutes, along with compromise. And to get you started, the rule of thumb that I generally recommend people start with is what is following Pareto's principle, which is an 80-20 rule. If you're getting 80% of what you're looking for in the homes, neighborhoods, commutes, lifestyle, and you're sacrificing roughly 20%, that's a really great starting point. That's something where you would probably want to consider that house, that neighborhood a little bit further. Now, if you're really trying hard to make the house fit or the neighborhood or the culture fit for what you want, and it's just not quite lining up, if you're getting kind of that, square peg, round hole kind of thing, and it's just not hitting there, and you're closer to like 60-40, 50-50, and your gut's telling you something else, listen to your gut. You're probably not going to like the place. If you're forcing yourself to like it now, you're going to hate it later. So, Pareto's principle, 80-20. If you got 80% of what you want, 20% sacrifice, that's a great start. Now, jumping back over to the map, let's take a look at the major roadways we talked about earlier. So if you're somebody that works inside of downtown Denver and you're wanting a place that's more yard and quiet, or you have a family that you want to have, yard space and like community events afterwards, and you want that like relaxed feel, you're probably going to be looking outside of Denver, obviously, into the suburbs. anywhere along this whole outside ring where I'm kind of moving the cursor here. Now, if you're more interested in walkability, having walk score and like a neighborhoody feel, you're gonna probably look a little bit closer. Still have the sports, it's just gonna be smaller lots and not as much of that cookie cutter feel that you may have in the suburbs. And that'll be anything in and around the Denver metro area in this location. Now, the catch on this will be pricing. Pricing in through all these neighborhoods is going to be significantly higher than you're going to find in the suburbs. So figuring out your lifestyle, wants and needs, and what you want for commute are going to be major factors to kind of sit down and assess. Plus, we'll get into this in the next section, there's a major difference between the house styles up here to the north versus down here to the south. And building off the north versus south, let's talk a little bit real quickly about the traffic patterns. In the morning commutes, anything coming down I-25 along this stretch of road generally will have some slowdowns. Contrast, you're going to have a bit more of that coming up from the south, specifically anybody that's all the way down here in Castle Rock. This break here from 25 up into 470, there's a continental divide that rolls through right about here. And this stretch of road really can back up during periods of high fog, high rain, and high snow. So you really want to take that into consideration when you see that you're living here and you're like, oh, it only takes me 25 minutes to get to DTC. Not in inclement weather, it's going to take you an hour. And if it takes you an hour to get here to DTC, it's going to take you an hour and a half, hour 45 to get to Denver. So really take a hard look or talk to someone like myself who can help you with those commute times. Now looking at the east-west transition, US 6 is generally not too bad, but it does back up really badly over here to the western side. And then coming from Golden or from 470, anything along this stretch right here in the morning, going both directions during rush hour, can really bottleneck, not only from the volume of traffic, but also because this roadway goes from 3 lanes down to 2 for a segment right here over by Red Rocks and Morrison. It always bottlenecks. It doesn't matter if it's rain or shine, something you really want to consider with those commute times. Now 470 on the external eastern plains here, generally it's not that bad most times. It does get a little bit more traffic as Denver has grown, but the flow is still generally pretty fast. One caveat about that, during high or inclement weather, they do get more weather out here on this eastern plain anywhere along this whole stretch. So just take that into consideration with your evening drives, and you have to pay for it. The other ones are going to be free. Now for lifestyle and lifestyle trade-off, and this is a big one. This is where I see most people make the mistake. They find the home that is big and they think it fits all their wants and needs, but it's far away from wherever they're looking. So I helped a family once that was looking for basically a really great suburban style home, which we found, and we got it over here just off of Smoky Hill. And Smoky Hill and Aurora, this was perfect for them. They loved it, but they found out all of their friends were living down in Parker and in Highlands Ranch or somewhere all the way up here in Englewood. And this drive from Smoky Hill all the way up to Englewood was taking them anywhere from 45 minutes or so during high rush hour traffic to maybe 30 minutes. So play dates with young kids or going to someone's house after having a barbecue or a beverage or two became a lot more challenging. So finding the place that actually fits your culture and lifestyle is very important, and knowing your commute times is a central piece to that. Other people that have asked me about walkability, and they really like the idea of having a property where they can go home, sit on their front or back patio, use the fire pits if the fire pit season is allowing it, and then hang out with their neighbors and walk to and from the local coffee shop or bookstore or boutique. And there are a bunch of places in and around Denver metro suburbs for that. And I recommend taking a look mostly in the areas probably around like the Wash Park, Platt Park, getting yourself up towards Belmar over in Lakewood, jumping into the RiNo district or the Highlands. You're also in these areas going to have really fantastic restaurants. So if staying close to home, doing the whole community thing, having nice foodie kind of opportunities, maybe 5 minutes from your doorstep is your vibe, that's what I recommend for these inner areas, more of the urban versus suburban locations. And in contrast to that, the suburban locations are actually really awesome as well. Myself, I've been in the suburbs for a very long time at this point, which has its own pros and cons. It's comfortable, it's simple, it's cookie cutter, it has a governing HOA, and all of our restaurants are kind of meh. Nothing super exciting here in the suburbs where I live in Highlands Ranch. We have a couple of locations that are great, some over here in Parker. I generally, with my wife or family, we'll go a little bit to the north and find the better restaurants and such. So our walkability is garbage, But in contrast, we have tons of open space near us, along with open space trails. We have 8,000 acres of open space just behind us for trail running, or for if you're an equine or a day hiker or a birder or whatever, all of that's there for your use. So it's just the pro and the con. Do you want to be closer to the city with the city lifestyle, definitely more urban, or do you want suburban, which is a little bit more to the outskirts and has a lot more of those natural amenities, bigger yards, and more of a spread out kind of keep to yourself kind of feel, unless you have that a really good block with a community vibe. But I want to focus on a neighborhood called Highlands, or the Highlands outside of Denver, which is just across I-25 from downtown Denver. This whole area here, as you can see, is really, really close to the downtown Union Station. I like this spot a lot because it's got stuff that's open late, amazing food, dining, amenities, attractions, bars, restaurants, speakeasies. This is a destination spot, and the housing here is really good as well. It's definitely a bit more expensive because of its location, but it's a wonderful spot if you're looking for more of that urban feel. Another area I recommend for that urban feel and that high energy vibe is going to be the RiNo district. And the housing here is okay. It's going to be mostly townhomes, some condos, some studios and flats, but the nightlife and everything you have going in and around here is absolutely fantastic. So much fun, not only for the food and the dining, but also having Mission Ballroom right out your back door. There's karaoke, comedy clubs. It's just a really wonderful, amazing spot. Very high energy. Walkability is fantastic. It's not very quiet though, so if you're looking for a quiet-esque neighborhood, this is not your place. Now let's jump over to something a little bit more classic Denver charm. So for this neighborhood, I highly recommend Washington Park, or Wash Park for people that have been here for a while. This location here is just south of Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek is a very luxurious area. Wash Park is not any less luxurious. It's quite expensive, but it has amazing old style charm homes that are built from way back in the early 1900s, some late 1800s, some of the 1950s even. This is a charming, wonderful spot. Not only does it have Wash Park, as you can see right here dead center, but it also has quick access to parks and trails that go all along Dry Creek and the Cherry Creek Trail. This whole area inside of Wash Park is used by not only locals for yoga, relaxing, hiking, trail running, etc., but also for local running events. The Cherry Creek Sneak is a very famous 5K race that's done here every year. I think along with like the hot chocolate festival is here. So it's just a really cool spot, and the local community vibe here is unbeatable. Everybody loves coming to Wash Park, so I highly recommend checking this location out. Another charming area that I really like in the Denver area for an urban feel is going to be the Park Hill area. Both North and South Park Hill are fantastic. You're going to have everything here from Denver squares to bungalows to craftsmen, ranch-style homes, and tree-lined streets. Big tree-lined streets, not just like little new construction streets. Like this is a fantastic, beautiful area. It's just on the other side, literally, of City Park itself, which houses the City Park Golf Course and the Denver Zoo. And they're not too far from the Denver Botanic Gardens. So this whole area in here is just really fantastic. Housing prices and such will be done in a separate video, but it is relatively affordable compared to Wash Park. So this is a good starting point that I recommend most people consider when looking in and around Denver as far as urban goes. Now, jumping into suburban, this is going to be a bit of a different feel. And to get us started with the suburbs, I highly recommend on the southern end of Denver metro area, Highlands Ranch. It's a master plan community of about 100,000 homes. It's separated across 3 different zip codes, and it has an amazing school system in it based on niche.com and greatschools.org. It has a governing HOA that covers the entirety. This whole area of Highlands Ranch is covered by the HRCA, the Highlands Ranch Community Authority, and it covers not only the trails and the maintenance and such, which there are very many here, but it also has access to the 4 state-of-the-art rec centers. So it's a really excellent spot for that cookie cutter, bigger yard, 3-car garage kind of feel for that kind of vibe. The drawback about the suburbs is and will always be, it takes a lot more time to get from here to central Denver than any of the northern reaches. And that can kind of wreck your plans a little bit if you're planning to go to downtown and have a couple of drinks, because that Uber ride can be a little bit expensive, or just plan ahead and make sure you have a sober driver. Part of the benefit of being in this southern area is that you're very close to a whole bunch of corporate headquarters. Like Charles Schwab has their corporate office right here in Lone Tree, which is super easy to get to, not only from 25, but also if you live in Highlands Ranch or across the way in Parker, it's a very, very easy commute. Likewise, if you're jumping from any of these southern suburbs, you're going to jump up into the Denver Tech Center up here, and that's about a 25-minute drive. Coming from downtown, it's going to be a lot longer because these roadways are all kind of convoluted, 2 lanes. It gets a little bit more difficult to get in and out. So a lot of people, when they live up here, tend to work in the Denver metro area. A lot of people that work in the areas surrounding tend to live in the suburbs. Another suburb area that I really like that's a master plan community is up here to the northern end of Denver. Let me zoom out so you can see a little bit. So downtown Denver is sitting right here. And if we zoom in, Central Park is this big location to the northeastern location, just south of the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, which has a big wildlife draw, fishing, and then also Dick's Sporting Goods Park is right there, which is where the Rapids play, which is really pretty awesome. It's a really easy place to go to, and they have a spectacular 4th of July fireworks show. So being here, your drive time is going to be very, very simple if you want the suburbs and getting into downtown Denver versus those southern end suburbs. And the last little bit, the bonus that I want to throw in for you at the end are things to consider will be our climate and environmental conditions. Depending on where you're coming from, I've helped a lot of families move here from California, from Florida, from Virginia Beach. I've had a couple from the Midwest. Myself, I moved here from the Midwest, from Dayton, Ohio. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye, which is not so good since we just lost the national title, but whatever. Coming into Denver, what you can really expect is going to be 300 days of sunshine, and you're going to be about a mile up in elevation, and that elevation is no joke. It gets you closer to the sun, so sunblock is very important. Also, lip balm and water. You're going to want both of those with you at most times because it's very dry here. We're a very arid climate. If you're coming from Florida to Denver, you're going to feel it in your skin. It's going to be very, very shocking, but it's an easy adjustment. It takes just a little bit of time. The other 2 things to consider when you move to Colorado, I've said this before, is going to be hail. The hail season here is something that's very real, so watch out for that for your property and your property maintenance. And also, because we're very dry and we're an arid state, we are subject to wildfires. So we typically will have high winds with smoke, and the smoke is honestly worse than the wildfire itself for most areas. Most of the time, you're not going to be anywhere near a wildfire, but you will smell the smoke. Hopefully, you're never near a wildfire. So what does this all mean for you? Hopefully, this gives you a big bird's eye view of what to expect or how to start assessing the Denver metro area if you're considering a relocation or you might have to purchase here for a job or otherwise. Now, if you're interested in talking to me or how that works, I do have a strategy call that I really like jumping on with people, and I help you out not only with virtual tours, but also doing FaceTime. I do video recordings of different homes and talk you through the different pieces, and I send a whole bunch of different details to you. So if you want to learn a bit more about that, get some neighborhood reports or get familiarized on what might be the best fit for you, your family, yourself, I'd love to chat. All my contact information will be listed below. And lastly, if I said anything in this video that you agree with or disagree with, do me a favor, drop me a comment. If I said something that was helpful, I'd really love it if you drop me a like or a subscribe, maybe hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time I release a new video. Coming up next, after this video, I'm going to release one on the cost of living in Denver for 2026 so you can get a better idea and understanding of where those different fees and costs will go, which will help you with your relocation needs and also once you get established. Anyway, that's all I've got. It's been a long video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you all on the next one.